And 1, 2, 3. We should be streaming. We should be live. Good morning, y'all. This is Ned over at My Philippine Dreams, N to the E to the D over at MPD, coming at you live. Yes, live from Dumaguete City in glorious 360p ultra low definition, courtesy of PLDT. I only have 0.0 megabit per second upload, so this is streaming at about 300 kilobits per second. So if you're watching this and it's stuttering and it's not making sense and it's hesitating and it's reloading and it's refreshing, thank PLDT, Philippine Land Line Development Technology, something like that. So they're responsible for that. Today is August 2nd, 2017, the first day of the rest of our lives. It is 10 a.m. in the morning. And before we get into anything else, I had published some articles and I had made some comments about the situation that I'm in with the relationship. And I got a lot of supportive, positive feedback from that. So I just wanted to thank the people that took the time to email me, to PM me, to leave comments that were positive and supportive to both Michelle and I. I really appreciate that. And for some reason, I noticed that the majority of them came from Facebook, where you have to verify your identity. And a lot of the negative comments, I didn't get too many negative comments. It was all the usual suspects. Came from YouTube comments, which is basically anonymous. Anybody can set up a fake, non-verifiable YouTube account, Google account, and leave what kind of anonymous, cowardly comments they want to leave. So again, but back to focusing on the positive and expressing an attitude of gratitude. Thank you for everybody who took the time. I wasn't able to respond to everybody because it was kind of like overwhelming. Plus, I was in a pretty bad negative space at the time, and I just didn't have the motivation to do that. Let me check the stream status, make sure this is actually functioning. In glorious 360p. Also, I'm getting some comments that people don't like the live streams. If you're watching this now, it's a live stream, so if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. You can actually click it off. YouTube channels and the information that's provided and the experiences that provided, it's kind of like eating chicken. Some parts of it are delicious and delectable, and other parts are full of gristle and bone. So basically just pick off what you want to use and what's applicable to your certain needs and go from there. All right, we are live. It says live. All right, so quick message from our corporate sponsor. This week's corporate sponsor, this episode of our live stream is brought to you by Hawaii Air Freshener. For a beautified house, the answer is Hawaii. Give you a chaste and elegant environment with mild fragrance which brings joyfulness and comfort. Yes, Hawaii Air Freshener, now available in international scent. I don't know what they mean by international scent, but it's only 48 pesos. It's probably filled with CFCs and all kinds of crazy shit, and I'll probably kill myself having to use it. But especially in mold and mildew season, we just had 3 weeks of rain, and you need some air freshener because it can get a little gamey around the house. So that's what I'm using that for. The weather, as I said, we just had 3 weeks of rain. We had low pressure areas stacked on top of each other to the east. They all moved to the west. So we got a lot of rain. Basically every day we got a lot of rain. And we had a lot of cloud cover. So it was nice and cool. It wasn't too hot. But now the last couple of days the heat is back, and I've been checking the real field temperature. It's about 110, 112 when you factor in 91 degrees Fahrenheit and 80% humidity. Oh joy, yes. And here I was just thinking that I was starting to get used to the heat in the Philippines. Actually, I lie. I am sort of acclimating after nearly 4 years here to the heat. And I think it has to do with a lot with the shade that's grown up around the house, the Nipa carport that we got to provide shade to the west of the house, and also to the insulation that we put all throughout the ceiling here at our little pink house in Dumaguete. It seems to be working out really well. Daytime temperatures inside the house are about, like yesterday, I think it was 83, 84 degrees, which isn't too bad. Checking the live stream again. All right, we're still live. All right, Paul Price, loud and clear in Tampa. Greetings to Florida. Again, Mr. Kumar, I can't pronounce that. Mauritius? Yeah, Lek Buzzy, it's going to load. I am streaming at only 300 kilobits per second, so that's going to happen. All right, next up, trivia question. Last week's trivia question, I was down the boulevard during Big Bike Week, the 43 Versailles Unity Ride, and I made a reference to the term horse hockey. And I mentioned that it was an American sitcom, and that if anybody knew where that came from, send me an email to myphilippinedreams@gmail.com, and I'll send you a free copy of my book. The correct answer for horse hockey reference was Colonel Potter from MASH. And MASH is one of those series sitcoms that you can basically watch over and over in reruns. It's that damn good. And Butterflying 85, Sam M, and Life Happens were all sent a free copy of my ebook this morning, Chasing Your Philippine Dream, an Expat's Guide to the Philippines. This week's trivia question. I love reading, and particularly enjoy science fiction and fantasy. The series of books that got me into fantasy at a very early age featured a protagonist that was a pig keeper and a famous Welsh warrior named Prince Gwydion. Name the author of this series. The first 3 correct answers, email to myphilippinedreams@gmail.com. Get a free copy of our book, Chasing Your Philippine Dream, an Expat's Guide to the Philippines. And it's a really good book, and they're also sponsoring this live stream. For only $10.95, you get over 400 pages of really pertinent information. If you've never been to the Philippines, I highly recommend it. It's got a 100% money-back guarantee. If not completely satisfied, just message me and I'll refund your money. And nobody, again, I say this every time, but nobody has yet to ask for a refund, except for one guy who couldn't figure out how to download the PDF. That was the only instance of it. All right, going back to the comments. Mary Lou Jacks. Hi, Ned. I am originally from Tanjay City, which is 4 cities from Dumaguete, but I now live in Florida. Oh, cool. Is that like tonsil hockey? I'm not really sure. Oregon, Jim in Oregon. Glad you're back. Yeah, it's good to be back. And everybody's been through this, and everybody's experienced. I mentioned that it happens, billions of times throughout history, if not, to billions of people over time, if not trillions of times. And it's difficult, it's hard. It really is. And I'm still trying to clear out my mind and try to see things more objectively. And we'll see what happens. Ken Thurston, hey Gorilla. Nice and clear here in Oz. You're looking good, but you do need a haircut. Yeah. Yeah, sure I do. It's good to see you, Gorilla. It's good to see that you're feeling better and back in the game. People were a little concerned there for a while. All right, let's talk about some things that are going on. Also, I've been keeping myself busy. I launched 2 new websites. They're in their infancy. And I've been working on those, submitting articles for those, doing content for that. I've been writing content for other people. I've just been trying to keep myself busy. Also, I still have a lot of old footage that I have to put up, and I'm going to be working on that as time goes by. And again, this channel and the purpose of this whole adventure is just to impart my own personal experiences as an American living and working in the Philippines. Everybody's experiences are going to be different. People are going to see things in different ways. People are going to have different perspectives. And it's all of value. Even the negative stuff, even some of the negative stuff has some value in it. Because, even in a lot of times you got a lump of coal, you crush it hard enough and you pay enough attention to it and you'll start to see the diamonds within. I try not to spend a whole lot of time on the negative channels. People send me links to some of it and I start to listen and I'm like, I can't do this again. I can't do this again. So that is what that is. But back to things that are going on locally. First up, we got the new Balikbayan regulations, the BB box regulations as of August 1st, as of yesterday. The only way to send a Balikbayan box to the Philippines is for a Filipino, an OFW in the United States, to provide his passport, a complete write-out of listing of everything that's in the box, the values, all that stuff. They have to send it to a family member. It's got to be a relative in the Philippines who also has to provide proof of identification. This is going to cause all kinds of chaos. We got the holiday season coming up where millions of BB boxes are going to be coming in. You get these new regulations that they're trying to implement, and it's just going to be total chaos. Talk about throwing a monkey wrench into what was a rather smooth and fair, I thought, process. I mean, the businesses made money. People in the Philippines that had family that were OFW were able to get, you know, giant boxes full of candy and toothpaste and all that stuff. And foreigners coming to live here for, you know, around $75, $80 could send a giant ass box of their personal belongings to the Philippines. So keep that in mind if you are, and I got to update the book on that, if you are planning on coming to the Philippines, don't ship yourself a whole bunch of Balikbayan boxes because it could turn into a total shit show. I don't see this actually continuing. I think everyone, I say everyone, that's kind of racist, Juan. I think everyone here is going to get very upset at this and they're going to express their disdain for this new regulation, so I don't think it's going to continue. What they should have done probably, because you know it's all about making some revenue along the way, is implement like a $4 or $5 per box tax or something. But they didn't do that. Instead, they're taking this direction with it, and we'll see what happens. People are always asking me about how do you make money overseas. One of the ways that you can make money while traveling or living overseas is teaching English as a foreign language. It's basically called TEFL. If you have a college degree, if you have 2, 4, 6-year degree, you actually don't even need a TEFL certificate to teach online. There's a bunch of websites that you can join as long as you're a native English speaker without much of an accent. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for very flat accent native English speakers, people like from the Midwest that have like no accents at all, no discernible accent. They're looking for that. But you can get your TEFL certificate if you want. I just signed up for a online TEFL course. And it says it's accredited, but I checked the accreditation. It's kind of like this somewhat shady accreditation agency and stuff. People say that you should get your CELTA, and there's all different types of accreditation that you should have. There's no international accreditation agency. The U.S. has one, the U.K. has one, other countries, Australia, I believe, has one. But having it is basically a feather in your cap. It looks good, and you can actually get them for about $39 to $49. There's always a Groupon available for these online TEFL courses. Just check it out, do your research, do your due diligence on it. Make sure it's not a completely fly-by-night outfit. A moderately fly-by-night outfit is okay, as long as it's got some type of accreditation. But also, if they say that they have membership in an organization, and basically anybody can join an organization, pay their dues, and belong to that. So keep that in mind as well. Pay, if you have a college degree, it's about $12 an hour. If you're living overseas and you're making less than $150,000 and you're out of the country for a certain period of time, you don't have to pay federal taxes. If you have graduate degree, if you got TEFL certification, you can of course make more, $15 to $20 an hour. And people that have specializations like medical background, people that have been nurses, doctors, anything like that in the past, that's an other feather in your cap, and you can make even more money. All right, we're getting ready to take some questions from Kevin Suzuki, who's in Honolulu. But let's just go to the feed real quick, make sure we're still online. Yeah, that's a new rule on the BB boxes. It's a damn shame because I was planning on sending myself a BB box. What they're trying to cut down on is a lot of people were sending in used electronics, laptops, cell phones, stuff like that. And people were basically running businesses, shipping stuff into the Philippines and reselling them here. And that's something that I actually do every year. If I'm coming back to the Philippines, I usually have a number of cell phones on me that are unlocked open line that I purchased on eBay, laptops, that sort of thing, and give them away to friends. Yeah, that's what I do. I give them away to friends. Ken Thurston, don't knock the heat. It was -1 degree Celsius, 30 degrees Fahrenheit here this morning. Cannot wait to get back to Cebu. Yeah, the last time I saw you was at Fred's place. That was a good time. Although the Australians were all drunk by the time I got there and passed out. Donald Collins says you can still send boxes by LBC. The rules haven't changed that much. I'd hold off and wait on some definitive answers. Definitive answers in the Philippines are very few and far between. It's like an endangered species. We still don't know about the PhilHealth rule, where everybody that went and paid up for another 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years, is going to be billed for the difference in the balance over the next 3 years. Can't get definitive answers from PhilHealth. They'll actually give you an email address to PhilHealth that nobody responds to from. And it's weird that they give you the email address. It's like, well, you work for PhilHealth. Can't you email them and try to find out yourself? They won't do that for some reason, which is bizarre, but welcome to the Philippines. All right, moving on. Kevin Suzuki in Honolulu sent me some questions, and I thought I'd just address those real quick. His first question is, what are some of the overpriced and difficult to find items in the Philippines? My answer, high-end electronics, TVs, stereos, cell phones, computers, laptops, anything like that are usually overpriced, and or it's difficult to find specific models here. The good news is that you can get most of the other things by searching eBay China. We're allowed to use eBay China, Hong Kong here in the Philippines. You have to pay a bribe to customs when it comes in. I think it's about 130 pesos for the inspection fee. They don't even open it up. They just kind of look at it and then charge you 130 pesos. And you can also utilize Lazada. Lazada.com.ph is a good resource for finding some hard to find things. Also, if you dig around and you travel like to Manila or Cebu, you can usually find the higher end stuff, more difficult to find stuff, but again, you're going to pay a very high price. I mean, iPhone 7s at the mall, I think they're still $1,000 USD, somewhere around there. Also, new and used cars are expensive in the Philippines, especially Toyotas. Filipinos seem to love Toyotas, and they depreciate very slowly. So you can see yourself buying a used Toyota Fortuner, for example, for a good amount of cash. Next question that Kevin asked, what are some of the underpriced items in the Philippines? That's one simple, anything to do with labor or rent. I pay $200 a month for my little pink house here. It's a very nice house. I enjoy it immensely. And also labor. You have to get your car repaired. You have to have anything done. Yayas, helpers in your house, nannies, that type of thing. $60 to $80 a month. It's ridiculous. And then Kevin finally asked his final question is, it seems like getting a haircut in the Philippines is a great deal. What are other services that are really inexpensive and some that are expensive? I answered the first one. Again, anything to do with labor or rent. Also, ferry travel is cheap in the Philippines. Ferry and bus travel is very cheap. And airline promos with Cebu Pacific, Philippine Airlines is an amazing bargain. Not just flying locally, but they also have a lot of flights to other spots in Southeast Asia. They're doing promos all the time. And a lot of times you can get round-trip flights dirt cheap. I'm talking like $150 to like Singapore and shit. It's insane. All right, let's go to the comments. Hey, Ben Ives. Okay. Ben Ives says, and he would know, I've been shipping laptops and other stuff directly from Amazon to Cebu. Ben, let me ask you a question. Do you have to pay any type of excise tax, import fees, tariff fees, anything like that on that? Because I know some people have ordered from Amazon. Yeah, Amazon will deliver here, but sometimes they get hit with those nasty fees. Although I do think they increase the threshold to anything of value under 20,000 P isn't hit anymore. I'm not sure. Mike Conway notes, I tried to order iPhone on Lazada from US and delivered to Phil's, and it didn't work. Okay. Donald Collins, no problem. Yeah, it's constantly buffering. Welcome to the Philippines. Yeah, I'd like to. Mary Lou Jacks also asks Ben how he can do that and how much is the shipping cost. All right. Unfortunately, we got some unfortunate news. Again, this live stream has to do with things, events that can happen and occur here in the Philippines that can affect expatriate life, whether you're living here, studying here, retired here, working here, doing whatever. And the first up is unfortunate news of a foreigner murdered in Naval. A foreign national was shot to death in downtown Naval in the early morning hours of July 26. The victim was identified as Simon Rawlinson from New Zealand, 63 years old, presently residing at Barangay Bato, which is, Bato's actually De La Rosa's last name. He's the head of the police. According to witnesses, the foreign national was shot by a riding in tandem duo. That's basically two guys on a bike. Guy in the back has the gun. They shoot you. Police authorities used two CCTVs installed in the area to aid in their investigation and eventually arrested two individuals. The murder weapon and a sachet of shabu were seized during the arrest. In April, Mr. Rawlinson sent an email to friends saying he was embroiled in a long-running dispute with the barangay captain and council over a pathway to his home. So that sounds like one of the big problems in the Philippines is a right-of-way issue. So he was having a legal dispute with the barangay captain and council. One friend of Mr. Rawlinson, who asked not to be named, said, I told him numerous times that he was a stranger in a strange land and to get out of the Philippines, but he would not listen. That makes the total killed in Davao, murdered in Davao, foreigners murdered on Biliran in the last 2 years. The other being a Dutch gentleman and a retired U.S. Marine. So that's 3 murders there of foreign nationals in the last 3 years. And keep in mind that Biliran only has a population of about 170,000 people. So that's pretty brutal. Let's see if Ben responded to that question about Amazon. Okay. So Ben replies on the Amazon question. So Amazon estimates the custom duties. These duties always seem to be less than I would have paid if I mailed it myself. All right, that's a good piece of information. So if somebody wants to try that, if somebody wants to mail something to themselves, order something on Amazon, maybe I'll try it. You know, I'll be the test subject. And he says that the custom duties would be less than if he had mailed it himself. All right, thank you for that, Ben. Appreciate it. Huh. Unsaman. All right, continuing on. More bad news, unfortunately. 6 police and a civilian were murdered here on Negros Oriental. It's about, I don't know, 40 kilometers, 50 kilometers north of where I'm at on July 22nd, 2017. Basically what happened was the NPA, the New People's Army, which was formed in 1969, and they also take credit for the killing of a Colonel Rowe. I think he was in the United States Army, a Colonel James T. Rowe or something. He was in charge of the SEER program, the Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape program. And he was murdered in 1989. They took credit for that. New People's Army, usually considered not as aggressive or as extreme as MILF, MNLF, BFF, whatever you want to call them. But they've been getting a little antsy as of late. And this was a horrible incident. What they did was basically they ambushed one vehicle, killed a bunch of people. When another vehicle came to support the first vehicle, they also killed them. So 6 police officers, I believe one was the police chief, station commander, and also a civilian were killed in this. No NPA were killed, and it also took them a long time to recover the bodies because there were snipers in the hills around where the incident happened. Now this is following an attack in Davao, I believe, in April, where 88 NPA attacked a food processing plastic plant and torched that and shot things up down there. So that is close to home. That's right here on Negros Oriental. Negros Oriental actually has NPA, obviously. And what I'm seeing, I mean, between what's going on down in Mindanao and these incidents that are occurring in other parts of the Philippines, there's a little bit of a civil war going on. I don't know how this, and I've been trying to find statistics or any information that I can on how this is affecting tourism and foreigners coming to the Philippines. All I have is anecdotal information. Like when I returned from the United States in May, I noticed there was fewer foreigners coming from on the Manila to Dumaguete flight. I also heard from a bunch of other people the same thing, that anecdotal information. So I have no objective facts of how this is affecting tourism. I'm sure it's affecting it, because also the way the Philippines is being portrayed in a lot of Western media, like I get my news on Flipboard, isn't that positive. What with the extrajudicial killings, the stuff going on down in Mindanao, and ambushes, kidnappings, murders, and all that stuff. So it's not looking good for the tourism board, which I believe just changed its motto. It used to be "It's more fun in the Philippines," and they just changed it to something else, and unfortunately I forgot what it was. But that's neither here nor there. All right, returning once more to the comments. And again, I just wanted to thank everybody one more time that expressed their support for both Michelle and I as we go through this bizarre and painful process. It's much appreciated, and I'm very grateful for that. What is the NPA political goals? NPA is basically communist. Eagle's asking. They're a communist organization, and they believe in the redistribution of wealth between the extremely rich in the Philippines and the extremely poor. It came to, I think a lot of it came about, and I didn't see this on Wikipedia, but I heard the collapse of the sugarcane industry had a lot to do with fueling the NPA. On Wikipedia, it says that a lot of it was from the 1960s political ideology of communism, socialism, sharing the wealth, and all that stuff. Um, their goal is to redistribute the wealth. And I mean, if you've been in the Philippines and you've been in a lot of other developing nations, you'll notice there's a huge gulf between the haves and the have-nots. If the United States continues on its present course with inequality of wealth distribution, it's basically the United States is going to be where the Philippines is like 20 years. There's a huge gulf between the people that have and the people that live day to day and are just scratching out survival. And you see them everywhere, you know, especially like the most brutal example of that is the giant dump up in Manila, where there's people that literally live off the dump. They take the used food, they boil it. There's a term for it. I forgot what it was. It's a Tagalog term. And they sell it for dirt cheap, and that's what they survive on. And they live in the dump. They exist in the dump. The dump is their life. It's horrible. Let's see, any more questions? Angel is the pup's name. Yes, Angel is fine. Angel is well. She's getting fatter every day. She eats a lot of sky flakes, chicken bones, and bread. She likes bread. She likes dog food. She likes anything she can eat. She's still murdering everything and anything that comes into the yard as well. Smoky Mountain, thank you, Roger Jr. I appreciate that. And there's actually, and you can see it on YouTube. It's a documentary that was done. It's available in 1080p, I think, ultra high definition. It's a documentary that was done on Smoky Mountain and some other areas of the Philippines that really puts things into perspective. Mr. B61, the best place to get a used laptop in Dumaguete, I'd say go on Dumaguete Bid for Me, the Facebook page. It's got 220,000 users. There's people selling and trading stuff there all the time. You got to check the battery. You got to make sure it's legit. You got to meet with the person. You got to do the whole haggling thing. But sometimes you can get good deals on that. Whenever I come back with laptops or whatever I need to sell something, I usually do Dumaguete Bid for Me, although it can be a pain in the ass. CF notes. Davao Don states, I shipped a laptop to Davao from USA on Amazon, high shipping costs. Yeah, you're going to pay a lot for shipping, and you also got to keep in mind the tariff fees and all that stuff. I mean, you might be better off if you really need something high-end, something really nice, going up to Singapore or Hong Kong and getting it. Mary Lou Jack says, Ned, did you learn some Visayan words? Yes. Unfortunately, very few. I can sort of follow conversations around me, but when they engage me in a conversation, I totally nosebleed out. I can't do it. So we got 100,000. We got 137 people watching now. Got a lot of good feedback. These are difficult to do, these live casts, because it's live. It's basically unscripted. I can't edit it. If anything bizarre happens, like the power goes out, the internet shuts down, or I stand up and I forgot to put my shorts on, it can get rather awkward. But it's fun being able to interact with people. I'm also going to be doing some changes to the channel. I'm going to do a formal video on that at some point. Basically, this YouTube channel has been my channel for the last 3 or 4 years. And basically what I want to do is open it up to other people. People with smaller YouTube channels that have good quality content but can't seem to get the exposure. I want to be able to have the opportunity to promote them from my channel, because we got like 21,000 subscribers, 7 million views, something like that. So we have a good base to work from. Also, I want to open it to the local Filipino population, whether they be dance crews, musicians, professors, anybody talking about any topics on the culture, anything relevant to life in the Philippines, the cool, unexplored corners of the Philippines. I really want to be able to promote that. So if you know somebody like that, keep it in mind, and at some point over the next week or so, I'm going to be doing a formal video just opening up my channel. And basically what people are going to do is they'll upload the video to their channel, send me the link to it privately. I'll download it to my channel. I'll change things around, and I'll promote their site, their YouTube channel, whatever, as long as the quality's good. It's got to be good quality content. But I want to open this up, and I'm in a position here where we got a lot of subscribers, but it's got to be something relevant to the Philippines and some, really good quality. And if it's not good quality, and I say, well, it's not really what we're looking for, or I'm looking for, don't get offended. Don't get offended. Also going to be doing the same thing on bestofdumaguetecity.com and myphilippinedreams.com, is opening it up to people to contribute, promote their websites, do more of that stuff, and try to open things up a little bit more. So thank you, everybody. It's been 30 minutes now. That's what I usually try to keep it at. I really appreciate your input. Ben, thank you for that information on Amazon.com. Also, people, I recommend, if you have more questions about anything to do with the Philippines, the Living in Cebu forums is a good resource. They have a lot of archived information over there. Make sure you use the search function before you wander in, aimlessly asking questions that have been asked a million times before. It's also a rough crew over there, so don't go in there with thin skin and throw yourself out there and not expect to get scratched. Also, there's good resources on Amazon. There's the Jens Peters book, Jenspeters. He's got an excellent book on the Philippines. He updates that regularly. I refer to that all the time when I have to do traveling or when I'm looking into something, trying to investigate some weird aspect of Philippines life and culture. So those are two things that I recommend. I have no, also, Michael Fazio. What is going on, man? I got to do a video at some point with all the cheesemas and all from the chismoso foreigners. People, a lot of times foreigners will complain about all the gossip that goes on with the Filipinos. Basically the routine is everybody gets up in the morning. They all wander out early in the morning because it's nice and cool. They're doing little chores and stuff, and they gather in little groups and share the gossip of the day. But the foreigners, I've found, are a lot worse when it comes to the gossip. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with YouTube and the anonymous nature of it, and being able to put up a video about anything on anyone, and there's basically no accountability. So you can basically say anything about anyone on YouTube, and there's no consequence. It's kind of like being a Kardashian. The Kardashians is basically life without consequence. And I think that's where a lot of this cheesemas and chismoso is coming from. Also, one thing I noticed, I was at Flip Flops recently. They were having their anniversary, and I was sitting with two other couples, American couples that had retired to Dumaguete. One of them works with a charity, and they were saying they enjoyed living here. They knew about a lot of the negative stuff, but they also expressed their gratitude for my channel and some of the information that I was able to provide, and trying to put out somewhat objective, rational layout of what life in the Philippines is. So that was cool, and that kind of wasn't stoked my ego, but it's nice to hear that. It's great to get a donation. It's good to see somebody buy a book and stuff like that. But to have people come up to you and say, hey, thanks, I just want to express my gratitude for all the work that you've done, that means everything. That's more important than the AdSense, the book sales, all that other bullshit, because that's just found money. And that's a real experience. I have yet to have somebody come up to me and start giving me shit or accusing me of, not being real or not being objective enough, or, whitewashing everything with rose-colored glasses. That hasn't happened yet for some reason. So that's a good thing. All right, that's enough of me patting myself on the back for the amazing job that I'm doing. Thanks again for your time, everybody. Thanks again for your kind words and support. This is Ned over at My Philippine Dreams, and I will see you next time. Boy, I look good. I didn't realize how good I look today. Take care.